I first want to just show my appreciation for people who are watching my videos. I like to just show appreciation first, because I see my views from the past 2 years. It has risen, not this grand extreme number, but it has risen, and I appreciate that. I appreciate any comments, I appreciate any engagement that I do receive. It proves to me that what I say is validating in any way, and we all deserve to have what we share with others to be validated, no matter their views, no matter the perspective or the point of view. To have that form of validation makes room for me to continue to share and to feel that it's accepted and validated. And I was thinking about this recently. I want to keep sharing just thoughts that I have. I was reflecting on my growth on YouTube, and I got that feeling of feeling validated. I was like, this is actually pretty valid. This is validating. And as someone who doesn't have an abundance of resources when it comes to communicating with others, I find value in a resource like YouTube. Even though sometimes with social media, and that's why I don't really go on it, there's just an influx of noise. And if we can find a small window of a frequency that's in resonance with ours, I think then that could be helpful. I believe it's also helpful to take a step back, but if you do engage with the digital realm, I think it's also helpful in a way that's in moderation. And briefly want to just also share that I find myself drawing away from YouTube more. Just for my own engagement, I find myself less engaged lately with YouTube. Because everything I can maybe source from the digital realm, I can just try to seek it here in this physical realm. I want to share and converse with you all about sensitivity. It's been on my mind, and I had this other idea of a video which I will also make soon. I was wanting to film after this another video, but depending on how I feel, my moods are in constant fluctuation. But sensitivity, I had this on my mind too, and wanted to touch base with that, talk to you guys about it. Growing up, I just didn't see myself someone sensitive, or at least what I knew about sensitivity didn't feel like it always related to me, because I find that sensitivity is always on a topic of emotions, but it's never, I just find that it's more common to find information on sensitivity, but through our emotions. But I want to also touch base with how it can be physical, Because that's how I feel it. For me, it's more physical. And I share this because I want to encourage others to recognize their own sensitivity. We're all sensitive, but it shows up in our own way. We're very sensitive creatures. And I wish the world can make more space for sensitivity and makes more space for how fragile we are as humans. I mean, just go on a train during rush hour and someone will start getting angry at just how tight everybody is. I just wish the world can maybe open the door to that conversation of how fragile we really are and not put up this external wall of a facade that we're just tough and there's no emotions. So I believe that we are more aware now that we are emotional beings. I do find that there's more information on it, but it needs to continue to be talked about. It needs to be continued. So I'm hoping I can be part of that conversation too. I was at a cafe yesterday, and it was not a big cafe. It was quite small, and there wasn't that many people, but just the noise was a lot. I've been feeling it heavily with this Pisces season. Like, noise is a lot. So I'll start with some of what I feel sensitive of, in hopes that, that people can resonate and recognize their signs of sensitivity. With the physical plane, I am sensitive for noise. I don't like that much noise. Honking. Construction. The drilling, I don't really like drilling. A lot of talking. I just don't like talking a lot. I don't like hearing people talk. Like in a room. I don't like loud music. Oh my gosh. I've been experiencing going to clubs finally at 25. And even though I still haven't had that many experiences at all, actually. But just a couple. Literally, just maybe as much as I can count on one hand. And just, I can get into the music, depending on the music I can get into. I can dance. But sometimes it's unnecessarily loud. I'm not going to try talking to anybody with that noise. I'm not someone who talks over loud noises. I really don't like that. When the trains are passing by and I'm on the platform with somebody, I prefer not to say anything until the train passes. Or, talking over loud music at a club, that's not for me. I'll just dance. And then we can touch base afterwards. I just find it unnecessary. And I say this because I wish people could just quiet down. I wish the world could quiet down and just hush. I just want everybody to be quiet sometimes. And I hope if you do resonate with this, let me know. Let me know. Sometimes I just want the world to be quiet. Another one is I have trouble filtering out background noise. So I can't really focus. I can't focus on reading my book on the train and the bus if there's a lot of noise. Even hearing the train as I'm on the train is too much for me to continue reading. And I try to, I don't have headphones, but when I did have earphones or headphones, it helped, but just the activity happening around me I like no activity happening, and then I can concentrate. It's much easier. But if there's people in and out of the trains, then it's less, I can concentrate less. And I tried to work through with it, but maybe I can just easily admit now that maybe it just doesn't work for me. Sudden sounds, so as I said, honking, something just loud. I'm like, why? Why? So a lot of the physical deals with the auditory category, auditory senses. And I had to even just look this up on Google because, like I said, all this information about sensitivity was always through the emotional plane, was through like the aftermath of sensitivity, like the triggers of sensitivity, nothing pertaining to the signs of it. Maybe, I'm sure there's information, I just find that I was limited with the information for a long time. Visual sensory, I have a little bit of that. The flashing lights. So when I was at a club, and not only was the music extremely loud, so loud that you can hear like the bass or like the vibrating off the floor, but the flashing lights, I was like, why is it flashing so much? Sometimes I like it at a concert, I do. But in certain circumstances, I think if it's too like just in your face flashing nonstop, I prefer not. Like, I don't want my eyes to be blinded, no. And so there's other categories I'll touch base on, and I don't always relate to all of these, but this is to help you recognize just how much is out there outside of just the emotional sensitivity. But the emotional sensitivity I do have, but it deals with a lot of just criticism, very sensitive to feedback, whether it's positive, negative. I am very sensitive. Well, no, sorry. I can handle the positive feedback. But the negative feedback, even if it's through gentle and tender way of communicating, I'm still very sensitive to that. I'm like, oof. You gotta take it really easy with me. Otherwise, I might take it to heart. And then there's that deeper level of the fear of rejection that kind of can come up. And that's why also there's that fear of confrontation, because with the confrontation, it leaves room for the negative feedback that I'm sensitive to. Another category of sensitivity is gustatory sensory. So it relates to taste. You might have a strong reaction to taste, bitter or sour flavors. You may have issues with textures of food. If the texture of the food is too chewy, slimy, or crunchy, this I don't really have. So I'm sensitive, but my sensitivity in the form of auditory, a little bit of that emotional, a little bit of that visual. But there's a lot of things I'm not so sensitive about, and I am relieved about that, because I just appreciate certain little things that I like. I appreciate things that I like. I appreciate that maybe I don't have to navigate so much of the shadow side of sensitivity, only because it may not pertain to me. So I'm relieved, and I'll touch base with this shortly. But gustatory, sensory, don't relate to that, but I just want to share because that's also exists. Tactile, or tactile sensory that pertains to touch. You may have sensitivity to textures on your skin, such as feelings, such as clothing or food. May have sensitivity with physical touch. Handshakes or hugs may be uncomfortable or overwhelming. Someone might avoid certain clothing because of the tags or seams. This, I don't do handshakes. It's too formal. And I don't want to touch somebody's hand. That's energy exchange that I don't know who that person was, what they just did. Hugs. I can do a hug, but depending on the person. With foods, I don't have sensitivity to foods. I'll eat anything. The tactile sensory that I just described, which I got all of this on Google Images. The tactile sensory, I'm not sensitive to handshakes or hugs, but I just don't prefer it. I don't prefer it. Or I do like hugs, but not just anybody. Another category, olfactory sensory. You may be bothered by strong smells or perfumes, cleaning products, or certain foods. These smells can be overpowering and unpleasant. I do not relate to this, but to share in case you do. I can do smells, sage, Palo Santo, perfumes. I like the smell of gasoline and Lysol. I don't try to use Lysol, but I like the smell. My signs of sensitivity overload can be in the form of feeling overwhelmed by tasks, feeling easily overwhelmed by my senses, avoiding small talk. I'm either talking about something pertaining to life, your life, something deeper, something of meaning, of value to me, or I don't talk at all. I'll just be completely quiet. Especially in group settings, it could be in a group of 3 or 4, and I'll still just be observing. I'm in the process, and it's been a long one, but I'm still in the process of having my voice to be still heard, to still speak up and not just observe, to actually express myself. It's been a long journey, but and I haven't necessarily really done much to ensure that I express myself in public, but I've been looking at it more recently. And another sign is I will feel irritable. I'll feel irritable, when I'm feeling pretty sensitive. But ways I'm not sensitive. I do like watching violent shows. And I don't and films, but I don't watch films and TV shows as much as I in the past. It's rare that I watch something. However, I will be watching Daredevil. I will be there. In a week's time, Daredevil Born Again, I will watch that. And I do watch The Boys. I watched that last year. There's a few violent shows I wanted to briefly mention. I will watch that. I can appreciate art and music, but it's not like a deep love. As I was looking at some, finding more information on signs of a sensitive person, a common factor in identifying it within oneself is I kept being shown information, and it consistently involved the love of beauty, of art, of music, and I have an appreciation for those, but it's not a natural passion of mine. Art galleries are not a natural passion of mine. I rarely go to art museums and galleries. Music I don't always listen to, actually, rarely. Not rarely, but and it's not a daily thing. Lately, I've been wanting to, because now I have some artists releasing new music that I like. However, it's not a daily occurrence. I'll listen to music like maybe 10 minutes a week. Not a lot. People think, they see me, they perceive me as someone very artistic, and I have I have a liking towards it, but my heart's not so like shining brightly for it. It's not an inner bodily feeling of warmth, and not warmth, it does bring warmth. It's just not, my heart's just not completely in it. It's not something I can feel within myself. So it's kind of just amusing when someone thinks I'm like artistic. Like, But this is a form of art, is speaking, of creating videos, which I can vouch for, that I do like. Of course, that's why I'm here, but not in like the beauty way, not in the art, music, that category. But I have an appreciation for it, and I don't have vivid dreams. That's another sign maybe I'm not sensitive, and I don't take things personally, and this is what I was pertaining to about the shadow side. And I have before, of course, taken things personally, but it's not something that occurred. It's just not something I do. And people pleasing, I just don't talk to people. I am reserved, but I will talk to people like cashier, barista. I like making like a friendly impression. I like to acknowledge people, but it stops there. And I am spontaneous. I don't need to live my life a certain way. I was, some information was online, said that sensitive people live their life a certain way. I didn't read more into that, but I don't live my life a certain way. And the reason why I wanted to bring up signs I'm not sensitive, it just helps me identify. When you identify what you don't like, it helps you, not don't like. When you identify the opposite, it clears up both ends, if that makes any sense. Sometimes I need to know what I don't like to know what I like, or what I don't resonate with to know what I resonate with, or what I don't relate to what I relate to. It's always a contrast. Spirit, divine, God created a world of contrast so we can actually turn to love and turn to God and choose source, divinity. Okay, so I think that is to share. And it's hard to be in a city when I'm sensitive, at least to my environment. I think what a part of my personality is just incredibly curious, whether it's curious about spirituality, self-development, emotional intelligence, history within the evolution of cities, of urban development, of how analyzing the contrast between the policies other cities hold than others, and how that can manifest into the daily life of, or like it can manifest through like what you see of how a city operates, their infrastructure, their housing, job availability. So there's so much I'm curious about, and I think my curiosity has led me to be not so sensitive in certain parts of myself. And that's why I'm here in a city right now, because of that sensitivity that I feel. I mean, sense of curiosity that I have. And lately I've just been wanting to, every time it's Pisces season or water seasons are not easy for me and anyone who has water in their charts, because like you just a little bit more like emotional. But also like this season, man, it really is feeling, I remember feeling this last year too, just wanting to retreat and just feeling sad. Wow, I am feeling sad. Part of it is the sense, being very sensitive at this time. And I want to create more room for this innate nature of sensitivity within all of us. I didn't recognize my sensitivity until really I think the past year, or at least really come to terms with it. You know, because I think I kept subconsciously trying to deal with the loud noise of just people playing their music, even someone who's I was with like even moments where I was just with someone one-on-one and they started playing their music. I'm like, can you turn it down? Or like that YouTube video we're watching together, or a movie we're watching together. I'm like, can you turn it down a little bit? And I always felt like maybe I just can manage it. Maybe I can just manage it and not always. I subconsciously was telling myself, maybe you don't have to always ask them to turn it down. Almost kind of ignoring my natural tendency to want something, my natural desire to just want it to be a little quieter. So now I'm like, okay, yeah, I can admit to myself now, like, yeah, there's some things it's not gonna change. I'm not gonna just now deal with the loud noises. And this is also with talking. Like, I'm just someone who, I can just admit that. Like, I don't want that loud noise. I also don't like to, the city life, I wanted to not, sometimes I think we just have to just retreat. We just have to stay in. I can share the mindfulness tools and resources. I'm sure you know, meditation, yoga, dancing, just acts of stillness. But sometimes I find that you just have to be to yourself. And lately I've had a desire the last few days to go outside. But at the same time, I'm sensitive right now. I'm feeling more sensitive than usual to my surroundings. And so I'm like, wait, I want to go outside, but I don't want to be around that many people. But I'm in a city. And, you can't just leave. I really kind of mute anyone that suddenly their advice is, oh, go on a getaway trip. Are you gonna pay for that? Sometimes I'll be blunt. That's also there in me. I will be blunt. It doesn't reveal itself often, but that's also an aspect of me. That's not always the option, logically. So I will say, go to a park, find a spot in a park. That's what I'll be doing. Or taking a walk somewhere quiet. That would be another tip for anyone that's living in a city that's just sensitive. Yeah. Because sometimes you just don't want to stay in. Maybe usually, but I find myself, it's more natural for me to go outside than in the previous ever. Like the last several months, I go outside more consistently. Yeah. It's just more natural to me, it's not. Yeah, so. And I kind of want to start my day earlier than previously. I don't know if it's going to be I wanted to kind of touch base with more of the city life, New York City. But I may have this be another video. Because I was just in DC and I wanted to share a little bit of that experience. So, thank you for engaging, to giving me some of your time.